Alright, so here is part 4 to What If Female Deku Was Apollyon. Okay, you can expect... Now, I'm planning to do another video later today, so look out for that. Now, this will be... Now, we'll pick up from... I think we left off after they had caught Stain, I believe. After they had captured Stain, Stain then gives a speech about the fake heroes, and he falls unconscious like he does in canon. Now, after that happens, I believe after that it is the final exams. So in the final exams, it'll be the usual UA staff, but they'll have Apollyon there as well. So it will be since All Might is currently teaching Mirio, he won't be there. So instead of Bakugo, so it's going to be Bakugo and Kendo versus Apollyon. So this is going to be an interesting fight. So once the Kendo and Bakugo begin their final exam, Apollyon launches a couple catapults and about one trebuchet. Yes, I'm giving part of her quirk. If you remember in part 1, I said that she could summon catapults out of nowhere, since that seems to happen in For Honor a lot. So she uses the catapults and trebuchets to knock down some bits of the building to block off any parts of their escape. And Bakugo, being the egotistical brat that he is, would try to fight Apollyon by himself to prove that he is the strongest. So, essentially, once Bakugo finds her, he immediately gets his ass handed to him on a silver platter, as he's basically knocked down. Now, Kendo still has her sword that she got from Apollyon. So she goes to duel Apollyon, and while they're dueling, Bakugo is slowly getting up. Like, he's pretty injured. Apollyon gave him at least one broken rib and a broken forearm. So, while Bakugo's struggling to get up, Kendo is currently dueling Apollyon, with Apollyon gaining the upper hand for a little bit, and then Kendo pushing them back. With Bakugo coming in from the side and letting off an explosion, which does send Apollyon flying a bit. But she manages to catch herself on her sword before snapping her fingers, and essentially a catapult hitting Bakugo out of nowhere, as Bakugo is knocked out from this. And then Kendo, who's still standing her ground, goes to duel Apollyon, but in the end, she ends up losing to Apollyon, with Bakugo and Kendo failing their final exam. But actually, Apollyon gives Kendo bonus points due to her not cowering in fear from fighting her or losing her ground. So Kendo passes, but Bakugo doesn't. Why? Because Bakugo went in without a plan to attack Apollyon, and it was the entire fight, he was just purely driven by ego. So Kendo passes, but Bakugo doesn't. With that over, we then get to the training camp arc, with Apollyon being on the bus with a couple, actually behind the bus, with about a few dozen Blackstone Legion soldiers, and she'll have Mercy with her. Mercy and Holden. So once they get there, all the students are surprised that they're being taught by the Wild Wild Pussycats, and I believe Tiger is his name, recognizes Apollyon and goes to shake her hand, with Apollyon accepting and shaking Tiger's hand. As Tiger states, it's a pleasure to meet her. Now, the same thing happens in canon with I believe it's, I forgot her name, the one that can manipulate the ground. I forgot her name. I'm sorry if I forgot her name. Just if you know her name, tell me in the comments. So, after that happens, she then gets on the bus with Aizawa as they then head to the training camp. As the sun's setting, they see all of Class 1A just limping out with Kendo, who with a little bit of dirt on her sword, with Apollyon walking up to her and basically praising her for remembering to bring her sword and remembering all the training that they were doing. As Kendo would notice Kota and go up to meet him, and as Kota's about to throw a punch, Apollyon catches it and stating, "You're a feisty one, aren't you?" As Kota would tell her to let go of his hand, as Kota then just storms off. As Mandalay would apologize for her behavior, with Apollyon stating that it wasn't a problem and children will be children. And we get to the on the hot spring scene, and Apollyon's not in there, but she is standing guard outside of the onsen, with Apollyon on the girl side and Holden on the male side, with Holden and Apollyon hearing Mineta saying that Mineta climbing up the wall. Holden charges into him to stop Mineta, but by the time Holden gets to the wall, Mineta's already halfway up there. So Apollyon runs to the girl's side and waits for him on the girl's side. But she sees that Kota had stopped Mineta from climbing up the wall, and Holden ends up catching Mineta and basically reprimanding him for doing that. As Kota does fall off the wall the same way he does in canon, and Apollyon basically ends up catching, and Holden ends up catching him as well, with them both with Holden and Apollyon walking out, and Apollyon handing Kota to Mandalay, with Mandalay explaining how Kota had lost his parents in a villain attack. And Apollyon would feel sympathy towards Kota, since she had also lost her parents her quirk force activated when she was 10, and she's 39 right now, so about I'd say about 29 years ago. So she would feel sorry for Kota. And then we get to the test of courage, and since Bakugo failed his final exam, he'll be going with everyone else to do the quirk lessons that they did, that Kirishima and Mina and Sero and Denki I did in canon. With them being attacked by the League of Villains again, and Apollyon and the soldiers, the foot soldiers are currently handling like the Nomas and all that, whereas Holden, Mercy, and Apollyon are dealing with the main villains, with Apollyon currently dueling Spinner, Holden fighting against Magni, and Mercy currently fighting with Toga. Now, Apollyon does manage to best Spinner and basically injure him to the point where he can't get up to fight her anymore. Holden manages to beat Magni, and Mercy manages to deal with Toga. So they're dealt with, but instead of kidnapping Bakugo, like they did in canon, the League of Villains ends up capturing Apollyon and Tokoyami. They end up capturing Apollyon and Tokoyami. With news reaching this that the Blackstone Legion leader, Apollyon, had been captured by the League of Villains, this reaches the Blackstone Legion. Now, at this point, this is basically Warden is currently in charge. Since Holden and Mercy are away, Warden is currently and Apollyon is away. Warden is currently in charge. And once Warden hears about this, he immediately declares war on the League of Villains. Now, in the rescue mission, Aizawa will take part in this due to his quirk versatility and the fact that Apollyon is technically his girlfriend, and All Might knows about this, and he's alright. Hold on, give me a minute. Alright, sorry about that. And All Might being alright with this. He wasn't alright with it when he first learned about it, but then he was cool with it. So the League of Villains tries to get Apollyon to join them, stating that with the might of the Blackstone Legion, they could topple the Hero Society and kill All Might, with Apollyon immediately refusing this. And Shigaraki gets angry at this and tries to decay her. But the whole pizza delivery thing, the police pull, happens, and All Might busts down the wall, and all the members of the League that were there and weren't already taken into custody were knocked out. But the teleportation thing happens as in canon, and they're teleported right to All for One. Now, once this happens, Apollyon recognizes the voice and the suit of the man who killed her and her brother's parents, and she is immediately enraged at the sight of him, as before she could launch one of her catapults. All for One then basically hits her with an air cannon, which sends her flying a bit. As Shigaraki is laughing at this, seeing that the person who cut off his hand is now about as defenseless as a puppy. As All For One is about to finish Apollyon off, All Might then comes in and punches All For One, sending him into a building with Apollyon thanking him and stating that it is the same guy who killed your master and our parents, so we should probably team up to deal with him. So, while All Might is doing all the front force damage, Apollyon comes in from the back and ends up stab All For One a few times. And this is where the canon of the story changes to where I know some people won't like this, but All Might is killed by All For One. And Apollyon is enraged by this, and this is where the best part comes in. Apollyon's quirk essentially evolves to include the one thing that is the biggest pain in the ass in For Honor ever: revenge. As Apollyon then basically charges towards All For One, and she basically ends up killing All For One right then and there with a clean decapitation. As All Might's life fades from his eyes, he says that he's proud that his youngest sister has gotten so strong as he passes. And everybody in Japan is saddened by this, including Apollyon, to the point where she doesn't really leave her quarters for the entirety of a month. And Aizawa and Kendo do visit her, but she doesn't really respond to them. She since her quarters are locked off, not even Holden or Warden could get in. Not even her highest ranking people, not even Shinso could get in there. So that's where I'm going to leave it off, and I do hope you guys enjoyed this. And I'll see you later today when I post the new What If I'll be doing. So see ya.